What's up, Misfits? Welcome back to the channel and another guide video. In today's video, we're stepping into the Norse world of Valheim. Valheim is an open world survival game that drops you into the fray with little guidance and even less direction. This can make the beginning playthrough experience somewhat frustrating, but this video is designed to spare you that frustration. So let's walk through 5 objectives you need to focus on when starting out your Valheim campaign. So you're naked and afraid. You've just spoken to a giant raven, and the only thing in your pockets are rocks and sticks. Welcome to Valheim. You're probably tempted to let loose and start exploring the rugged countryside, but I wouldn't recommend it. Valheim is a survival game with a punishing environment for anyone caught out at night with just a loincloth and a club. Your first objective, as with any survival situation, is food and shelter. Your best bet in the early game is to repurpose an abandoned building as a temporary shelter until you build your first camp. Each level seed is unique, but you should be able to find a few abandoned homes scattered near your starting location. As you're scouting for your new digs, make sure you're picking up the branches and stones scattered around the forest floor. These will be your beginning building blocks, which allow you to start progressing in your campaign. Helpful tip, you're also probably going to stumble across a food source like mushrooms or berries while you're hunting down rocks. In Valheim, your life bar is based on the food you consume. The higher quality your food, the bigger your life bar. You'll discover new food as you progress, and once you start establishing a more permanent home, you'll gain the ability to cook and prepare higher quality meals to maximize your health. Alright, you've gathered some supplies and found a slightly dilapidated home. Things are starting to look up. Now we just need to make this space livable before the monsters of the night come to visit. In Valheim, you'll get buffs for things like being rested and warm, and debuffs when cold and wet. In order to do work on your temporary shelter, you're going to need to build a workbench and cover it with a roof. This requires you to craft a hammer if you haven't done so yet. 2 tools you'll always want to have readily available are an axe and a hammer. Once you build your workbench, you'll gain access to a whole set of blueprints and building options. In order to maximize your buffs, you'll need a fire near your shelter. You can either set one just outside your 3-wall open concept home, or build one inside your home. Just make sure you set it on the dirt ground and built a chimney for it so the smoke doesn't kill you in your sleep. Yeah, that's a real thing. Have some fun. If you need more wood, just cut down a nearby tree with your axe, but don't let it fall on you. Once done, cross the objective food and shelter off your list. Our next objective is weapons and tools. Here's 3 things that are essential to a successful Valheim campaign when it comes to weapons and tools. The 2 most important items for you in the early game are a bow and an axe. Get them as quickly as you can. Your early game revolves around wood, and there are different types of wood. As you make new axes out of stronger materials, you'll be able to cut down trees with harder wood. This will make new constructs available from your workbench, which help you progress further into the game, whether it's a better weapon or armor or things like a ship. Yes, a ship. We'll get to that. When it comes to combat, I think a bow is essential to a successful campaign in Valheim. You'll understand this the first time you stumble into the Black Forest and get stepped on by a troll. Welcome to Midgard. The lowest level bow is a crude bow, which requires 10 wood and 8 leather scraps to craft. You can get the leather scraps from boars, so don't waste time chasing after deer. The deer are fast and crafty. Take them down with a bow when you get one. If you're the type of player that likes to push the difficulty boundary, you'll find more success playing like a rogue with your bow. You can stick and move and wear your enemies down that you probably shouldn't have been engaging until later in your playthrough. TLDR, bows are essential. The last note on weapons and tools is that you can repair them when their durability depletes with no cost at the workbench, as well as upgrade their strength, but I'd save that for weapons you know you're going to be using for a while. Just keep beating the crap out of your axe and repairing it for free at your workbench. Cross weapons and tools off your list. Your next objective is to build your first camp. At this point, you've got a temporary shelter, a full belly, and enough crude tools to designate yourself as a Neanderthal. It's time to establish your first real encampment. I'd recommend building your first permanent encampment on the coast located near the sacrificial stones that you spawn into the game in. You'll be coming back to visit this spot as you take down the legendary bosses throughout your campaign. Once you're able to start building portals, you'll stick one in this encampment and use it frequently. Your first encampment will be the first place that you start building defenses to deal with the things that go bump in the night. It's also where you'll set up your first series of chests for material storage. If you're the type of player that enjoys crafting, looting, and building, this is a good spot for you to take your time exploring the meadows and gathering stores for the next phase of your campaign. Organize your chests, gather your resources, and design your epic first home. If you're not this type of player, throw down a fire, 4 walls, and a few furnishings to move on to your next objective. Objective number 4 is exploration and discovery. Valheim is a survival game in its truest form, which means you don't know what you can build until you discover it. You'll need to defeat the first boss at this time to unlock the Antler Pickaxe. At this point, the world is your oyster, which is a weird saying. Essentially, you get to start discovering different types of wood, ore, and enemies. You can start tiptoeing into the Black Forest, exploring your first dungeons, and discovering Surtling cores. These are important, but we'll touch on these in another tips video. Valheim's world is bigger than you think. I mean a lot bigger, like freaking huge. During this period of the early game, you'll want to start exploring beyond the shores of your starting island, which means you need a boat. Not a raft, a boat. So focus on gathering the necessary resources for that. A helpful tip while you're exploring to keep track of what's going on is to use the mark and label feature on your map. I label my camps and burial crypts I've explored on the map to make sure that I'm not wasting time searching for my bed or going through a dungeon I've already looted. This will help keep you efficient with your time. I tend to set up a temporary camp as I start exploring a new landmass before I decide if I'm going to make a more permanent encampment as a part of my looming Viking empire. Which leads us to our last objective for starting in Valheim. Build an empire. At this point, you've got a feel for the game and are starting to figure out what you enjoy the most. Whether you're a combat veteran or Midgard's greatest architect, this world is too vast to operate out of just one location. Long-term success in Valheim will depend on your ability to establish a network of locations with varying resource focuses. In Valheim, not every item can be transported through your portal network. In the same way, not every resource is located in the same biome location. So whether you're trying to upgrade your armor or trick out your living room, you'll save yourself time by establishing multiple locations to refine raw materials and only transport what you have to via boat. If you're just relying on the boat, then make sure you have sea legs because you're going to spend a lot of time on the ocean. Your best bet is setting up encampments on every important island you stumble across. There you have it, Misfits. There's 5 starting objectives for you to focus on when beginning your Valheim campaign. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, click that like button. If this was your first time stopping by the channel, thank you for hanging out with us today. Consider subscribing. That sub count is what helps keep me motivated to making these videos for y'all and all my Misfits out there. Take care.